Welcome to K6 Wellness Revolution, where we believe health is worth fighting for. This podcast focuses on all things related to natural health, wellness, and vibrant living. We know your time is valuable, and I'm honored that you're spending some of it here. So get ready, because the Wellness Revolution starts right now. Welcome to the K6 Wellness Revolution podcast. My name is Sharon, owner of K6 Wellness Center in Dallas, Texas. I'm going to be your host tonight with Elena, and we're going to talk again about health and wellness. But today, because here it is October and it is Breast Health Awareness Month all over the world, you see pink everywhere. And Elena and I are going to take a deep dive into breast health. And we're going to talk specifically about how whole body thermography can be a real vital tool for your breast health and overall health. In fact, if you remember, like our very first podcast episode was just about whole body thermography. And it was one of our most popular, if not the most popular services that we have here at K6 Wellness. And since we're, breast health awareness, well, I feel like it's more breast cancer awareness than it's never about health. It's just about, let's name a disease. Since that's what this month is, we want to really go a little further. And I feel like when we just think of breasts as they associate to either cancer, okay, so disease, or something very sexual, and then no woman is satisfied with what she has because of whatever, pop culture, social media, then we become deluded. We get off track with what health really is. And one of the things I'll just say before we get started, it is a bee in my bonnet, is the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and the whole idea that they are the savior of the world with regard to breast health. And they're not. They're a fundraising organization. We've looked it up, multiple sources, including USA Today. Wasn't it Snopes? I think Snopes even said it. Not that I rely on Snopes for everything, but they only give 20% of the funds raised to breast cancer research. And all of that, I promise you, goes to big pharma. It's all big medicine. I don't think anybody's putting money into, hey, what diet is best for preventing breast cancer, or maybe do plastics play a role, or, take your pick of lifestyle issues and breast health concerns that we could pour a lot more resources than zero into and still not hit what big pharma takes on these cancer drugs and immunotherapy drugs. And I think that women would be a lot better off and they'd have healthier breasts. So there's my little soapbox. Not a fan of the pink. That's why we're wearing maroon.
In protest.
In protest. Not really, just worked out that way. But it is. I just, it bugs me. And so whatever, over. Today, we're going to share thoughts. We're going to talk about how to actually create breast health. What should be involved with healthy breasts and developing healthy breasts, recovering healthy breasts. Should you get a mammogram? How necessary are screenings? Because there's all kinds of screenings. And we want to talk about how thermography compares to some of these other screenings. And so, yeah, let's kind of get started, or let's just continue stepping on toes right now. So go, Elena.
Yeah, way to go, Sharon. Let's just get right to it. All the things that irritate us, because what really irritates me, you really actually you touched on it. It's this focus that we're saying it's Breast Health Awareness Month. And truly, to all of our listeners, that is what K6 Wellness considers October. This is breast health awareness. This is not breast disease cures and fundraisers. It's just irritating that all these different diseases get this attention with the fixation on the disease itself. Mm-hmm. And there's not conversation in the traditional medical realm about the cause. People don't just wake up and have cancer one day. Whether it's breasts or prostate or, I mean, you name it, right? There's all kinds of cancers. But what's important to remember is that your breasts for women are actually a barometer for your overall toxicity and health. For men, we say it's the prostate. For women, it's breasts. So if we were able to just think about breasts as really a warning sign for health, and that's what we look for when we do the thermographies, which is our favorite. If anyone's listened to us at all, I think we mentioned thermography a lot because it is such a great whole body screening. So Sharon, tell us your favorite thing about using thermographies for breast health.
Well, and I'm going to extend beyond breast cancer because,
Yes.
that's only one small aspect. We see a lot more of other things, but I love thermography because I think that the way that the breasts show up on thermography, it's not that first of all, we're not imaging the breast, right? We are measuring temperatures, and I can't remember, is it 15 temperature? 6, 9, 12, like 15 temperatures on each breast. I have to think about it in my head.
Me too.
But for women who have dense breast tissue, fibrocystic breasts, for women who have scars on their breast, women who have a history of mastitis, women who have had reduction surgery, women who have implants, women who've had explants. There is so much to be gained by measuring breast health using thermography. So we can see what's going on in the breast very early, from hey, there may be some inflammation here, to you've got some scarring and probably some adhesions in there. And usually women, when they have that, they've got some pain, right? And what do? Or women have a growth, or they think there may be something. And what's the first thing we do? You go for a mammogram, and what do? Well, let's just squish your breast between two plates, and we're going to take this picture. And I am telling you that if we measured men's testicles or testicular health that way, that would
There'd be a
last
protest. That would be a real
30
protest.
seconds. No, they go straight to ultrasound, or they do something else. But with women, it's like, but it's just, and I even looked this up. They just, like, in doing research, you go in and it's like, yeah, it doesn't feel good, but it doesn't last very long. Well, okay. Getting stabbed probably feels the same way too.
Yes.
And there's the idea, there was a lot of conversation years ago about how mammograms actually created more problems than they solved. And I think the politics around it are disgusting. And I don't mean politics like red versus blue. I'm just saying big medicine, because we've really changed a lot of things. But all that's okay. I'll get back to thermography.
But just to point out too, and I think people who've listened to us know this, but for anyone who doesn't know, at thermography, we're taking thermal temperatures.
Yeah.
There's no radiation, because in a mammogram, you're smashing the tissue and radiating it. Not only is it uncomfortable, it's not safe. Radiation is not safe. And they're recommending more and more 3D mammograms versus the 2D. And the 3D is 2 and 3 times the amount of radiation. So women walk away getting 2 and 3 times the normal amount of radiation than they got in the first place with repeated mammograms.
And there's no, as far as I've ever seen, with the thousands of women that we've had come through with implants, there's not a lot of doctors who will say, yeah, you've got implants, you should probably not squish those between two plates. But
Right.
It makes sense. I mean, and I have seen reports, likely rupture. Yeah, you take a baggie full of water or silicone, you squish it, you stand a good chance of creating a problem there. And there has been a total shirking of responsibility. There has not been this idea that, hey, let's do something different for these breasts that have the silicone implants. And I say silicone implants, I don't care what's inside the silicone bag, it's all in a silicone bag. I think these women need options, and they need better they need better information and better education. So yeah. And that's why thermography, we're not squishing the breast. We're applying an infrared thermometer or a sensor to the breast. It's kind of like, you know, when you go to the doctor or you have the forehead temperature things. Now ours is way more accurate, but we're basically touching the body in different places and just taking temperatures. No pain, no trauma to the tissue, nothing. And it's so accurate, and we're able to see, oh wow, you know, where we're looking for uniformity, we're looking for symmetry side to side, no matter how big one breast is versus the other, or whether you've had a double mastectomy, there should still be a certain amount of cooling thermoregulation. And when that's not there, then it's up to us to look at it and determine why. But then also, I love thermography for breast health because we never stop at the breast. With a mammogram, okay, you got a picture of your breast and it hurt. And it may tell you something and it may not. And it may lead you to a needless procedure that is going to be a needle biopsy that comes back fine. But oh, by the way, we're going to leave a little metal clip in there so we know we've done this before. I don't like that. With thermography, if we think there's a problem in the breast, we can go look at the teeth, because there are 5 teeth on each side of the mouth that correspond with each breast. We can look at the stomach. We can look at the pancreas. We can look at the lymphatic system. There are a lot of other indicators of, hey, you've got a problem here. It's not just the breast, because we recognize the whole body works together.
Yeah. And that's where we start with the whole body picture, because I know in all the years I've been doing this, you know, there's a handful of women who we look at their breast thermography, the whole body thermography, and then we say, hey, we need some additional information. And our first recommendation is always, let's get an ultrasound, because that's going to be a lot safer than getting the radiation of a mammogram. And then I think in 10 years between you and me, like we've told 2 women, okay, after an ultrasound, okay, now you probably need to go get a mammogram, because we exhausted everything else. We've done all these things. We need to check the box there. But that is such a rare thing, because we get enough information in the thermography. When you're evaluating the different organs, like you mentioned, the stomach, the pancreas, and the lymph, you know, you always have to look at that, because if there's a blocked spot in the breast and all the lymph is blocked, that's pretty easy. That's a pretty easy puzzle to figure out. But it's you know, mammograms are something that should be very conservatively recommended versus just every year, every other year. But
right. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I mean, it's not that mammograms don't have their place, but as a first line screening tool, kind of sucks.
Right. It's only going to pick up something that's already been there. Whereas with thermography, especially with an annual thermography, where we can track the patterns of those temperatures and see, okay, well, you started from here where it was not good at all. Now you're here to where it's not great, but it's getting better. And then the next year you see, okay, that's really good now. But mammograms are only going to give you bad news, you know, once it's there.
Agreed. And I think, yeah, so that's like whole cancer part, but then there's the whole implant part. And I mean, you perform more thermographies than I do.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, just because a woman has implants, you know, this is to our listeners or viewers who maybe you do have implants, doesn't mean you're going to get a bad thermography. Right. We've seen some where the breast points actually regulated fine. I mean, you're one of those people that you aren't reacting to that silicone, but that is not the common population we see. Oftentimes we see dysregulating points, whether it's from reactions to the silicone or scarring from the actual procedure itself. And so we have to take that into consideration when we're looking at the breast health, because you don't want to just look at the readings and say, oh, it's bad. Everyone thinks cancer is the only thing that could be bad or could be wrong. You could have autoimmune. You could have, you know, reactions to the implants, or you could just have autoimmune in general without implants, and your body can't regulate those temperatures properly, because remember, it's a barometer of your overall toxicity. But the implants are a big one we see. because there's a lot of illness that goes with breast implants, which I think we've touched on in previous conversations. And, we can talk more about that later, but it's very important to stay on top of your breast health. And when you've got those implants, let's talk thermography, because it's going to be a much more comfortable experience. It's going to track your overall health with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, especially it's funny because when I studied this and I went to Switzerland, and I was showing a few things that a few cases, and they were asking about, like, well, what do you do? What do you see? And when I was telling them, we do a lot of, we see a lot of breast implants and breast implant illness. And they're like, oh, do you work on celebrities and movie stars? And we're like, no.
Nope, just Dallas, Texas.
It's just Dallas. And they didn't get it. They didn't understand. And then but they don't experience the level of cosmetic procedures, in Germany and Switzerland that we do, or not people who are going to get thermographies anyway. And I think I'm grateful here that so many women who do have the cosmetic procedures done still come and get thermographies. And I think a lot of these women do find thermography because the thought of squishing their breast implants in a mammogram just doesn't appeal, and it's not common sense, right? And so they're out there looking for other things. And it's not that we say thermography replaces mammography. It's different. We're not imaging, taking temperatures. We're not imaging. And yeah, we just come at it from a different angle, but that's the beauty of naturopathic care. We're doing something totally different. And I think implants, I have to say that's one of the bigger things that it's a challenge. I feel like it's a huge challenge, almost bigger than cancer for a lot of women, because like you said, scars. And if you think about the fascia and you have all of your tissue cut through to insert a bag, whether you put it behind the muscle or wherever, you're going to have some serious healing issues, and you may have mobility problems. You could have keloiding, which is where the scar gets real hard and extends beyond the incision line. And then, ultimately there's the whole idea that you've put a foreign object into the body, and the immune system could eventually recognize that and go, yeah, that doesn't go there. We're going to start the inflammatory process. We're going to start marking this. And then women come in with, all manner of symptoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see them with fatigue and headaches and
food sensitivities and thyroid problems.
Yeah, not just food sensitivities, right? Sometimes it's like all of a sudden I'm reacting to everything. Yeah. And that's an immune system gone haywire.
Yeah.
And I think thermography is really good at pointing that out.
Well, and it helps a person know where to start with their health. Women come in for the breast screening, and we never just do the breast. People will ask for that, and we don't. We look at the whole body. Once again, you got to get the whole picture. And I think a lot of the time, women who are new to this experience, they don't even know what they just signed up for and what they asked for, because you're going to get so much good information. It can be a little overwhelming, but that's where we break it down. You can get so much good information that's going to impact every area of your life. So whether you knew you had thyroid problems, or that's showing up on a thermography, and then we investigate through blood work and see, you really do have a thyroid problem. And that's not always just going to be implants. I know we're talking about implants in this moment here, but there's so many other ailments that can reflect through the breast tissue.
Yeah, explants bring their own problem. And sometimes even, explants are a great solution for a lot of women. But with explants, we then have scarring issues. And how was the explant done? Did they remove the whole capsule? And are there mold issues or infection issues, hidden infections? There's a lot.
And
I think,
additional scarring,
yeah,
additional scarring from
it is.
removing those. And that's where you can really get the work done because you're trying to heal the inside out where there's no longer a foreign object.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, more often than not, I think we've had, less than 5 cases where the explant did not help within 6 months with overall health. And I think there were extenuating circumstances in most of those cases. But I think that overall, the explant process, there's some great explant breast surgeons all over the country that do it well, they do it right, and that's kind of their niche. But I think one of the other things that we do see benefit, because I mean, obviously, like implants, I never advise anybody to get breast implants. I think, but I don't judge people for getting implants because there's a lot of emotional energy that goes into it. Whether you get breast implants for because you had a mastectomy or because your husband wants you to have bigger breasts or whatever. We're not going to judge. We're going to meet people where they're at and try to help them find their best health through whatever path they're on. But explants, I think overall do usually improve people's health dramatically. And I think breast reduction surgeries, that's another one. We see women who've gone through the reduction surgeries, and I don't want to be on the operating table, but I have to say I've seen it help so many women who had back and shoulder problems. And I just wonder, like, would they naturally have breasts that were so big and burdensome apart from our environment and the
Right. With
toxins?
the things that you're being exposed to. Because that brings up a good point just about the toxic exposures that we're seeing more and more of. And it is going to always impact that breast health every single time. You might not be prone to cancers, right? Remember, it's not always about cancer. It's about just dysregulation to begin with and disease patterns. But plastics. Tell me, Sharon, how many women do you see who have, when you do those toxin tests or, what other kind of
Yeah.
testing you're doing, but how many women have some kind of plastic exposures?
Yeah. Well, and
Everyone.
even men, I mean, affecting their ability to produce or to keep high testosterone levels or good testosterone levels. Plastics really interrupt healthy estrogen production and metabolism because many plastics or plasticizers, I guess is another word, right? they
Mhm.
they interfere, they take up these receptor sites in our body where estrogen is supposed to go. Well, now you've got a plastic molecule that looks like estrogen in a place where estrogen belongs, but that plastic doesn't know what to do. It just happened to fit the receptor site. It's not going to behave like estrogen would. And that's where we get all these health problems, right? It can lead to men, gynecomastia. We can have low sperm counts. In women, we can have all manner of reproductive problems. And I think within the breast realm, especially like in the armpit area, we see a lot of problems. And I think some of it comes to our bras. Can we just talk about bras for a minute since this
I
is
mean,
breast health?
right. We need to honestly start there. We should have started there because we live in a society where every woman thinks it's got to be tightened up. All
Oh,
all the fits of the bras, the tighter the better. It's going to make you look more voluptuous or feel more secure. But honestly, the tighter the bra, the worse for your breast health because you're cutting off the lymphatic flow. You're cutting off just the flow of your body. And your breasts are fatty tissue. Toxins love fatty tissue. So especially if you have a wire in your bra, and you're putting that bra right by one of the largest lymph nodes under your underarms, and you're keeping it tight so nothing can move, you're just inviting the toxins to come settle in and make a home in your breasts. And I know my mom always said, don't wear wire bras, don't wear wire bras. I'm just like, whatever, mom. Like we all do when we're young. We don't think mom knows best, and she really does a lot
You
of the
mean she
time,
knows more than Victoria's Secret?
right?
What?
Because, I did my own thing and wore the wire bras for a few years. And then when I, started getting serious about my health again and going back to the way I was raised, when I quit wearing wire bras and tight bras, I lost so much inflammation in my entire body. And it just is more comfortable. We get used to this idea that beauty is pain. Well, it doesn't have to be. Beauty could be just being the way God made you. And yes, for decency, we do wear our bras still, but you don't have to have it tight, and you shouldn't have it tight. And in fact, I always advise women to go up a size in the band of your bra. If you go down a cup size and up in the band, your bra is going to be a lot looser and still fit good. And I love that there are so many wireless bra options now. You can go to just about any store. It's not going to be the one they're advertising most of the time, but you can go in any store and ask someone who works there, hey, where's your wireless options? They'll direct you to it. And it's actually way easier to shop for bras than ever before because you don't have a bazillion options. You get the comfortable option that can still look flattering. They've come a long ways. You don't always have to do just a little bralette. But hey, when you can, go with a bralette.
Agreed.
And with sports bras and compression bras, those are notoriously too tight. I see women all the time where it's digging into their skin. Ladies, if it's digging into your skin, it's too tight. You're not in the right size.
That's what I tell women. If you take your bra off and there are red marks either on your shoulders or around your bra line, your bra's too tight. And I think too, we don't equate health with beauty. But you go into any stores, health and beauty, but those don't always go together because we do terrible things, terribly toxic things to our bodies in general in the name of beauty. And I feel like our society is definitely broken in the sense that we don't appreciate breasts for what they're supposed to be, right? They are hypersexualized in our culture, unfortunately, because if you look at social media like Victoria's Secret, any bra catalog that comes around, you're not going to see normal breasts. But that's what's put in our face all the time. And I'm sorry, but if you've had children and then you nursed those children, breastfed those children, your breasts aren't ever going to look like that. And that doesn't mean that they're not attractive or less, but you're more likely to have healthy breasts if you've done those things, So yeah, I always tell, it's still my thing and maybe I overuse it, but we always say Victoria's Secret is what we use for the standard of beauty in America, but we should look at National Geographic to see what healthy breasts look like. and I will say this too, because you're saying like go into the store, look at the wireless options, and I agree with you. But because I've seen a few of these online, they're bras or tank tops instead of bras, and they're wireless, but they'll show the women jumping up and down, and they're kind of big women, or big breasts, and like nothing moves. Their breasts don't bounce at all. That's not good. That is too tight. There's nothing wrong with your breasts moving with your body. They're supposed to. We've just gotten used to another thing. And a way I think that we can acclimate ourselves back to more natural is when you go home, please take off your bra. There's no reason to wear a bra all the time. And if you're sleeping in a bra, you better back way the heck up because that is real bad.
Your body's never getting a break if you're sleeping in that bra. Like at night when you're supposed to rest and repair, you ain't getting that. That's not happening.
Yeah, you're really impairing your lymphatic flow when you're sleeping with a bra. So stop. Just stop now.
Well, and it's all about just feeling empowered to be in charge of your own health. That sounds so cliche, but think about how many women, Sharon, that you talk to. I know for me, so many women aren't even aware of what their breast tissue should feel like, does feel like. They're not aware. They haven't been empowered and they're not aware. So how important would you say home breast exams are for women?
Amazingly, first of all, I think it's very important. But amazingly, we no longer recommend that women perform self-breast exams at home. The
Not we. Right.
United States Preventive Services Task Force, who sets all the standards, like you should go get a colonoscopy this many times for this, they set your risk categories and what types of preventive screenings you should get and how often. And it is appalling to me that we have decided women should not touch their own breasts on the regular to examine for changes because it might invoke fear. Just let your doctor take care of that for you. And I rebuke that. Ladies, check your breasts, check them often and check them completely. It's better when they're wet. I mean, well, let's just go all the way in there, right? It's best to do it sitting and then lying back. And it is easier in the shower, if you're wet, because the skin is slicker and easier to move over. But you don't really know what abnormal will feel like or normal really until you just started feeling your breasts, yours or anyone else's, And there are, I don't know how many times through the years I've heard women who've had breast cancer, and who found the lump on their breast? Their husband. Because they weren't checking themselves, but their husbands were touching their breasts and their husbands knew something was there. So I think that it is very important that women check themselves at home. I don't care what system or organ of the body we're talking about. Nobody will ever advocate for you like you will. And if you don't know your body and you haven't bothered to check in with yourself, it's going to be really hard to do that because you're going to have trust issues with yourself. And a way to avoid that is to tune into your body. And I think we live in such a distracted society in general. It's really hard to take 5 minutes and think about, did I check? Have I felt that in my breast before, or is that something different? Heck, I mean, how many times have we asked people, how many bowel movements do you have in a day?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And what happens?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
And we're not here to make anyone feel bad about themselves, but it just comes down to a level of awareness, of slowing down and tuning into what your body is doing throughout the day. Understand that you need to know how many bowel movements you're having. You need to have a baseline to know what normal breast tissue feels like, so you can know when something is there that just isn't right. And the sooner you know, the better.
Yeah. And they haven't stopped telling men to check their testicles.
True that.
So again, as much as I don't want to be against the patriarchy on this, I'm calling
women take charge
on women's breast health. Ladies, we deserve better.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do better for ourselves. Especially women with dense breast tissue. Because not just for fibrocystic breasts, but women in general, the texture of our breasts, the sensitivity, the size varies with our cycle. And if you're not tuned into that, you could miss something. And why would you?
So what signs and symptoms, Sharon, should women be aware of when it comes to changes in breast health and doing the self-checks at home?
Well, I think that a really good rule of thumb is to understand that you do have a lot of lymphatic tissue, right, on the lateral side, like near your armpits. And we have a lot of fat cells. You have milk ducts. So there's a lot of little knobby or bumpy tissue. It's not all soft and easy to feel through for everybody. But I think if you are feeling something that moves around, that's generally a pretty good thing. Because if it's not fixed in place, that's usually a better sign. If it's soft, like maybe the end of your nose or your cheek, that's less likely to be something problematic. And if it feels like the end of your elbow, like if it's real hard, like a piece of rock or something, that typically is not a good sign. But again, if you haven't felt things, how would you know? And we have women who come in, and they've got like fatty cysts and stuff, but they've never felt it. They've never felt their breasts before. And then once they start, it's like, oh no, what is that? And, not everything needs to be biopsied. Honestly, I just don't believe in being real forceful and traumatic and invasive.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the idea with breast health, whether we're looking at cysts or tumors or unknown masses, if your body made it, your body probably has a way to help get rid of it. And
it's giving your body the right tools and understanding where the blocks are, the breaks are in those
where
pathways.
did that come from?
Yeah, your body doesn't just do that out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I think too, we would be remiss if we didn't mention emotions and breast health.
Yes. That's a huge topic that gets ignored for all kinds of health problems, but especially for breast, because women are emotional beings. Now, everyone has emotions, men and women, but women are more emotional. And with that, we carry a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to let those go. And there's different techniques that you can do for that. We do emotion code here, or there's even homeopathics and flower remedies and essential oils, things
and
that help
EFT
the body.
tapping, which you
yes.
can learn how to do for free at home. I mean,
yeah.
There's a ton of stuff, but I think the more in tuned we are with our bodies, know how many bowel movements you've had in a day, know how many times you ate in a day, know what your breast tissue feels like at any time of the month. There is nothing dirty and there is nothing wrong with knowing your body and touching your breasts and making sure that it feels right. Also, back to what should women be looking for? Like if you have puckering, like if your nipple all of a sudden is drawn in, that's problematic. Nipple discharge outside of lactation, that would be something you would want to get checked out. And then obviously like anything that has discharge with it, like a cyst or a wound, if you will, anything that persists and bothers you, get it checked out. Doesn't mean don't go to the doctor. And that's certainly what we don't want people to say, but there are a lot of ways to check things out. And I know there are gynecologists who will really reassure women, because they feel, 10 to 20 breasts a day. And so they know what breast tissue should feel like. But a woman may be uncomfortable with something. Get it checked out. Give yourself some peace of mind. I think sometimes we manifest our worst fears because we fixate on things. And I don't like to be that type of person, like, oh, don't think about it and it'll go away. That's not true.
Well, just being proactive though, too, because, a lot of women either think, okay, unless I don't feel anything, there's nothing there. But sometimes things could be brewing that you don't feel or see. And that's where, once again, thermography and early detection and just being aware is important, because sometimes, the toxins could be stacking up in your liver and not getting out. And that's going to reflect in the breast. So you might not be as fine as you think, not to go on fear, right? We don't want to scare anyone into taking care of their health. We want to empower women to take care of their health, but just have the knowledge and information that you can get with regular screenings, self-exams and thermographies, things like that. And, remember too, that older women are not the only ones at risk, especially nowadays. I've met so many 20 and 30-year-olds who've had breast cancer, and thankfully they lived to tell about it and, recovered from it. But it's just more and more common at younger ages. And, even for me, my first thermography, my breasts look awful. It looked like I was headed towards cancer. But it wasn't yet. It was just saying, hey, here's this dysregulation that you need to get under control. And I was in my early 20s. So it was a really great wake up call to know, okay, I need to take care of this part of my body a little bit better and have some awareness. Because
Mm-hmm.
even if breast cancer doesn't run in one's family, because if it does, you're going to be on alert. But even if it doesn't run in the family, you still could be susceptible to it if you have been exposed to enough toxins.
Yeah. Purely by virtue of toxin exposure
Yes.
and not knowing how your body detoxes.
Right. Right. Like, are you a poor detoxer in the first place? Are you prone to hormone imbalances? Are you a poor methylator? Whatever it is, those toxins could be stacking up on you unbeknownst to you until something happens. And then people feel like out of nowhere, I got cancer. I got, I hate to keep going back to cancer because that's not the only thing. That's just the biggest one people think about. I know every time I do a thermography review, people are like, okay, well, is it cancer? Is it cancer? Like, it's not always cancer. You could just have a really poor detox system that right now your body's going to turn on you and shut down on you. It doesn't always mean cancer.
Yeah. And, there's thinking about cancer as a metabolic disease, which we need to do a podcast on that.
Yes.
Talking about metabolic health, because it's so all encompassing from cognitive function to pancreatic function, thyroid, adrenal, cortisol production, reproductive health. I mean, how your body makes fuel and how smoothly that happens. I mean, your breasts do play a role there, right?
Yeah.
And I think too, women who get mastitis a lot, thermography is really helpful to show them early on, like, hey, you better pay attention here. We got to clean your lymph up so that you don't get these infections. We've been very successful dealing with supporting women breastfeeding who are prone to mastitis and guiding them through. Thermography is a tool to help detect, but like with mastitis, you don't always need thermography, right? But it is recognizing that you don't wait until you're running a fever and your boob looks like a watermelon, on fire, to do anything about it. You want to pay attention to your breasts and act early. That's a big deal. Yeah. I think that I don't know. I just feel like women in general are being led to be afraid of breasts, right?
Afraid
Like
of imperfection too.
Things can only go wrong. That's not true at all.
Yeah.
Enjoy them, but let them go. Let them be free.
Don't be uptight about it. Literally, don't have them up and tight.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think, one of our big things too is that knowledge is power. And if you know more about your genetics, if you have the privilege of knowing about your family history, because some people don't, some people do not know their family history, but we do have genetics now that can genetics testing that can tell us more about that. But I think the population in general, if we paid more attention to our exposure to plastics, to xenoestrogens, that could do so much. BPA, everything says BPA free.
Now it says it has BPS, which
I
is
don't think
just
that's
as
any
bad.
better.
No, it's not.
But don't believe that. If it's in plastic, assume it's not good. And it's not that, let's take this down to nuts and bolts. Like, well, what do I do? How do I get rid of plastic? Well, just save your jars. I mean, you can't just throw everything out all the time, but you could start saving your jars and put things in jars instead of plastic bags.
Food actually lasts longer in glass containers, whether it's a glass jar with a lid or a glass Pyrex with a snap lid, or just, a plastic lid.
This is true. I have seen Elena eat things out of a jar that I question.
Depends on the time of year and what's going on. But I've had some stuff stay fresh really long in a jar.
You have. And you didn't get sick.
Sensitive. Yeah.
That's a whole other topic.
Yes.
Adventures in food. But yeah, xenoestrogens can be very problematic. You could be low on estrogen and still be estrogen dominant and still have problems. I think too, especially with plastics. Let's go back to this. Don't microwave in plastic.
Oh, for the love, never.
Better yet, don't microwave. And
Ooh.
what was the other one? It was tea bags. Aren't tea bags have microplastics
Yep,
in them?
notorious for microplastics. They seem convenient, but it really isn't that inconvenient to get used to using loose leaf tea. I do a lot of that, and it actually tastes better. You don't taste
It
plastic,
does.
right? You don't
It
notice
does.
plastic, but that the tea bag itself, you notice a difference in the taste.
Yeah.
And it's just simple little things. You can't change everything overnight and suddenly have all glass containers and loose leaf tea if you're drinking teas, but you can make baby steps. And each month or week or month, whatever, try to do something better for you in regards to your food containers.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite brand of loose leaf tea?
I love Mountain Rose Herbs. That's my favorite
They
go-to
are
because
good. We
they
get
just have
nothing from them, by the way.
no, nothing. Truly, we don't. I have to spend all my own money to get the products because they're great, but they have an amazing array of herbs and herbal teas and black teas and green teas. And there's other companies out there. I really
Mhm.
love everything I've gotten from Mountain Rose Herbs.
Yeah, I do too. There are some good lines out there, and if you get one of those tea decanters or tea diffusers, it's really nice to have with you. It keeps it hot. It's like a Yeti, but it's glass and it's for tea. And that's really
And
awesome.
no BPA.
No BPA. That is ideal. And I think, just paying attention to everything that we put in and on our body. Fragrances, especially fragrances. And can we just say the smell of clean is not a smell. There is no fragrance with clean, but we've been conditioned to think, oh, it smells so clean. What's it called? Mountain fresh or spring breeze or ocean fresh or, whatever. But clean doesn't smell. And you don't really get that if you're going down the laundry aisle. It's toxic. Those chemicals are so bad. The plugins, the candles, those are just as bad for breast health as anything else that you're soaking in. You're just inhaling it, I guess. So yeah, I think that we just need to develop a mindset overall of what can I do to have a healthy body, and our breasts are a part of that. And the breasts are not to be feared, right? They're not to be avoided, and they're not to be not felt or touched. But I would just encourage women to develop a mindset of having healthy breasts. And health extends beyond an appearance. Okay. Healthy is very attractive. There's nothing, think about skin in general. We all recognize when we see good skin, right? And that's pretty. You can be real ugly, but if you have good skin, you're not so ugly. That's ugly. But no, really, healthy is beautiful. Healthy is its own kind of beautiful. I really think it's an approachable, relatable thing. And I think that energy just exudes from the inside out, and it shows in our skin, and on thermography it will show how your breasts are, but everything else too. And just avoid falling into what pop culture, social media, whatever else is out there tells us. Hey, this is attractive, or this is what you have to do, or if you want to be beautiful, you've got to do this or do that. It's a trap. And it just, these lies that we're told in our society suck the life force and the positivity out of life. Let's just acknowledge that breasts come in all shapes and sizes, all colors and textures. And by golly, it just makes us more interesting as a people, So embrace what you've been given and take really good care of it, because there are beautiful women everywhere with large breasts, small breasts, no breasts. We're all unique, and that's a gift.
Well, and that's where real beauty is health. And taking care of your breasts actually will make the whole rest of your body a lot healthier too, because if you're working on lymphatic circulation, that's going to make healthy breasts. If you are working on a strong core and having tone, not like everyone doesn't have to be bodybuilder toned, right? Just to have some muscle and tone, that's nature's natural breast lift, doing push-ups and just working on the pectoral muscles across the chest. That's going to make you stronger. You're going to feel healthier, and your breasts are going to be a lot healthier.
Yeah, you're able to engage more of those muscles, because there's this whole, with the lifting program I'm doing, it's the mind muscle connection. I hate hearing that, but it's true. Like, if you're trying to activate a muscle, you want to think about the muscle, you want to touch the muscle and flex the muscle. And if you have a sports bra on that has you squished, to hell and back, you're not going to be very good at activating that muscle. It's too uncomfortable. So exactly like Elena's saying, strengthen your core, do push-ups and plank without a bra on. Do some, I hate pull-ups, but any chest day, I really try to work out without a bra on so that I can fully activate. It's already hard enough to activate, I think, your pectoralis, for women. You can do it, but I want to get the most out of it, because I want a strong body, and I want a healthy body, top to bottom. Right?
Yep.
Can I get an amen?
Amen, sister. Amen.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think, given that, this seems like the perfect place for us to just wrap up. We hope that you, our listeners, have found this conversation to be valuable. We would love to hear from you. So if you watch this on YouTube or Rumble, please like us, subscribe to us, do whatever it asks you to do. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there. And if you'd like more information on how you could take better care of your health, breast, whole body, or otherwise, or you're interested in getting a thermography, visit us at k6wellness.com. You can schedule an appointment or a free discovery call to find out if we're a good fit for you. We work with people everywhere. So until next time, take care of yourself, because your health is worth fighting for.